are what made me who I am. Every bad or good experience I've had is what makes me who I am. So why would I be embarrassed or ashamed to talk about them when I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of who I am? Could I be doing better? Fucking of course. Do I need to do better? Fuck yeah. But I'm not ashamed of who I am as like a person in my heart and in my soul. Not at all. And I don't even know where the fuck I was going with this, but you know, like I said, people ask, like, it is hard to talk about a lot of this shit, yes. Because no matter what, I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting out my own personal shit. Like, none of this shit is fake. None of this shit is a facade. It's not fluffed up. It's not, like, this is all just genuinely, I'm just bearing my heart and soul on certain topics. And not in, like, the, I don't need, like, emotional support kind of way. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm exposing myself, and people, it's the internet. I know motherfuckers behind the screen can get to typing and talk all kind of wild shit. And to be fair, I don't really read comments that much or like see most of that shit, because I've kind of learned from doing this for the last few months, like, you know, sometimes people just fish for attention and just say stupid shit. So I've kind of learned to just kind of ignore most of that stuff, but it doesn't make it any easier. But, you know, like I said, this YouTube shit is meaningful. I know I just yapped. Sorry, that was a tangent. The YouTube shit really is meaningful, right? But I'll look and I'll just downplay everything that I guess I've achieved. I feel like it sounds really like gassing myself saying it like that, because it's like, oh, I got 30K subs, whoop-de-doo. Which to me is a lot, especially not even doing this for a year. It's pretty fucking cool, you know? But to somebody else who maybe has been making videos for fucking years and they got maybe 3 or 4K, that's probably crazy. So, like, I do feel proud of what I've achieved, and I hope to achieve more, a lot more, and shit. But, like, I don't know, bro. Like, that's another part of the, when I just go down that fucking spiral, I'm just looking at it like, that ain't shit. Like, I'm not doing good enough. Or like, I'm not getting the views. I'm not getting enough views to where people will feel like anything I put out is worth anything. It's just really negative, stupid shit, man. And I hate that I do it, and I don't know how to stop doing it, and I don't know how to fix it. And then it's like, I isolate myself so fucking badly from the people I love, from the people who love me and care about me and check in on me. Like, when I go down this spiral, bro, I just shut myself off from the world. And like, people will text me, and I'll text back here and there. My mom will try to talk to me. I don't really say much to her. My brother will call me. I don't pick up. Like, friends will text me. It's just, again, I don't know why I do this, but it's like, when I'm in that just dark place, I just want to be left alone, bro. Because it's like, I barely even want to exist at that point. Actually, let me clarify. I probably don't want to exist at that point. And I'm not saying like to the point where I'm gonna blow my shit smooth off. But you know, like, I'm sure some of y'all know how it is, bro. Like, when you're just in that really fucking dark place and just life is just fucking kicking you in the balls, or if you're a woman, metaphorical balls. Like, life's just kicking you when you're down, bro. You just need a break from your own life. And you just want to crawl into a hole and sleep for a month until life gets better. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works, you know? The longer you stay in that hole, the longer life sucks. And it's like, I know that in the back of my head. But when I get into that fucking just slump, it's like a black fog clouds my mind, and I can't access the information of shit that I already know. And it's just so fucking infuriating, man. It really is. It's like, I don't learn from my own failures. I don't learn from the lessons I've been taught over and over and over and over, because I've gone through this over and over and over and over for fucking years. And like, I'm not saying it's all the time. Realistically, like, the last like 3 days to a week have been like some of the worst in like the last 5 years. Excluding like, actually, no, including when my father died. That was a different kind of sadness. I've just felt like life's hopeless. You know, like, here I am. I got laid off from my fucking job. The job market is so shitty right now. The economy is bad. Fucking politics is a mess. Every time you turn on the TV, it's just fucking America is a goddamn puppet show. fucking gas prices are through the roof. It's like everything sucks right now. And when you're already feeling like your life sucks, you just absorb all this fucking negativity that's already in the air. And it just makes you, you know, like I said, just spiral down until you get to that spot where it's just like you're hanging on for life. And there's really not a point to this video. You know what? Like, I'll be honest, bro. I just needed to get this shit off my chest, because, like, I'm not gonna lie, bro. The last few days, like, I can't really put it into words. And it's not that I want it to, like, not be alive anymore. It's really not. It's that I just saw no future. Like, it's weird. Like, I obviously, I was not planning on checking out early or anything. But, like, I genuinely felt like my life was coming to an end. I don't know how to explain it. Probably just some mental health shit. I don't know. But life is rough. But things do get better. I know that. Hopefully you know that. We all should know that by now. Things do get better. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, I'll do this. I'll, like, just talk about the bullshit that I have in my mind and my heart, and I'll expose myself. And if some niggas want to get on the internet and clown me and call me, like, lame or cornball or whatever, you know, I don't care, because realistically, those motherfuckers are more miserable than I am, which is sad, by the way. But I do know that, I've been doing this long enough. I've got enough emails and DMs from people saying that, you know, you talking about X, Y, Z and just admitting to it and me seeing it made me feel less alone, and made me realize that there's other people who deal with shit like that. And I'm not, like, trying to put myself up on a pedestal or make myself feel like I'm more important than I am, because I'm a fucking nobody. I'm just another guy on the planet.
Kvaliteet, mis rõõmustab sind aastast aastasse. IKEA.
So when I was 20, maybe 21, I had ran into a girl I went to high school with. Now, when we was in high school, we was cool. We didn't really, like, talk OD. We didn't really know each other like that. We had a little bit of rhythm. Like, you know, she was cute. I was like, I think she was probably feeling me a little bit, but we didn't have no classes together. We just didn't see each other enough for anything to come of it. So I run into her. We're catching up. You know, we're talking like, oh, what you been doing? College? You know, you traveled any? Blah, 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 all that shit. And she tells me, she's like, oh, well, you know, I work at a stadium here in the city. If you want to slide through sometime, I can get us ticket for free. We can watch the game together. I was like, you had me at free. For sure. So a week or two later, it's like a Friday night, we link up. We go to a game. I think it was the Yankees and the Orioles, or maybe the Pirates, I don't know. Don't really matter, but, you know, we're watching the game, we're chilling, getting a hot dog, getting some drinks, just, you know, good time. It was a good game. I think the Yankees won in the end. It's maybe 6 o'clock, so we're like, all right, fuck it, let's dip. Maybe we can keep it going, go somewhere, go to a movie or something like that. So I take her to the movies. I don't remember what we watched. It was probably some bullshit. And afterwards, I'm getting ready to, you know, call it a night. Cause I'm like, all right, this was a cool little experience, whatever. Maybe it'll be a second date. I don't know. I'm getting ready to say goodbye. She hits me with the, oh, do you want to come up to my hotel room? We can hang out. I'm like, hang out. Sure. It's probably 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I already know what we finna be doing. Ain't nobody coming to hang out at a hotel room. I didn't get ready to leave her hotel room again until Sunday morning. So yeah, we spent the weekend watching Sex and the City. Use your imagination. So I'm getting ready to leave. It's probably 10 in the morning. I'm getting dressed. She goes out on the balcony to, I think it was like spark up a blunt or some shit. I don't remember. I'm dressed, so I'm like, let me go out there and, you know, kick it with her for another 5-10 minutes, just kind of before I say my goodbyes. Just, you know, not to be rude. I don't want to just up and leave after what just transpired. So we're out there, and I remember this vividly because I'm looking down. It's an old. We're on like the 8th floor or something like that, but I can still see the cars and everything below. And I'm hanging over the balcony looking down, and I remember vividly it's an old burgundy Cadillac. The trunk's open, and y'all remember them like milk crates, like the like black milk crates that were real strong and sturdy. You could like stack them on top of each other and use them as like chairs and shit. He's taking those old milk crates full of vinyls out of his car and putting them on the stoop. So I'm just watching this dude. Ain't nothing interesting. I'm just, sometimes you fixate on shit. And so I'm not really listening to what she's saying too deeply. But I hear just blah, 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 some shit, whatever. My husband, blah, 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 blah. And it was like 8 Mile. Snap back to reality. And she says it again, blah, 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 some shit, whatever. All I remember is hearing my husband. And I said, I'm sorry, you're fucking married? And she was like, yeah, you didn't know that? Everyone knows I'm married. I didn't know that. If I did, I wouldn't have just spent the last weekend. So I'm immediately like, oh man, I'm a piece of shit. I just slept with a married dude's wife. And then I'm like, hold up. I've been with you since like 4 o'clock Friday, and your phone ain't rang once. I was like, where the fuck is your husband? And he's not calling you. You've been gone for 2 days. And that's when she hits me with, oh, he's on deployment right now. And I think my heart dropped straight into my ass. So I'm like, what do you mean deployment? Deployment. He's overseas right now. But I was like, what is he, in the Army, the Navy, what the fuck? No, he's a Marine. I just fucked John Cena's wife? Bro, I was like, nah, there's no fuck. I was like, are you trolling me? Like, you gotta be fucking joking me. And she's looking at me with like the utmost confusion. Like, why am I reacting the way I'm like, all right, dog. Peace. It was a good weekend. My weekend is fucking ruined now. I'm getting the fuck out of here. So I dip, right? Of course, I'm dipping. I'm immediately making phone calls. I'm calling my boys like, yo, da-da-da-da-da. Do you know Shorty? Do you know who she's married to? Nah, I don't know. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So I had this white homegirl that when we went to high school, she was friends with everybody. So I called her. Yo, I was just with Shorty, da-da-da-da. Did you know she's married? She's like, yeah, why? I was like, who is her husband? She sends me a link to this dude's Facebook page. This motherfucker is exactly what I was fearing. Like 6'4" white dude, big fucking lumberjack beard, yoked up, fucking tatted. I'm like, oh, this motherfucker is like an actual trained killer. Like, so I'm like, bro, this motherfucker gonna come home, find out his wife was watching Sex in the City with somebody, and he's gonna go full Jason Bourne on my ass. So I'm like, bro, I'm trying to find out, like, was their marriage shaky or some shit? Was he banging somebody else? I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to figure out my probability of survival here. And she tells me, again, it's the same, because I'm panicking, it's the same blah, 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 something, something. After the baby, blah, 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 blah. And my heart sunk even further into my ass. I said, what? I'm sorry, did you say something about a baby? And she's like, yeah, well, they just had a baby, like, I don't know, 8 months ago. I'm like, let me get this straight. I just fucked John Cena's wife while he's on deployment getting shot at, and she is now the father of his beautiful baby. I was like, I am fucking cooked. I was like, bro, so I told her, I'm like, dog, I just spent the weekend with her. And she's like, what? She's like, why the fuck would you? I'm like, bro, there was no baby in fucking sight, first of all. There wasn't a goddamn pacifier, not a baby bottle, not a fucking whimper or cry. Like, there was no signs of a baby anywhere. So I have no idea where the baby was. But I was like, bro, she didn't tell me she was married. We ran into each other like 2 weeks ago. She's asking me out basically on a fucking date. I'm like, I was like, she didn't say anything this whole time until I'm getting ready to leave. So I'm like I said, I'm full fucking panic mode now, because now I got fucking John Wick coming home to find out his wife was unfaithful, and it was with me, some fucking jerk off. So I'm like, all right, I'm fucked. At the time, I was already considering going down south for a little bit to visit some family and shit. I took that as the perfect opportunity to get the fuck out of Dodge. So I went down south. I was basically living in the Underground Railroad. I ain't popped my head out for a couple weeks. Thankfully, I don't know what happened. When he got back, they ended up getting a divorce. He did find out she was cheating, not just with me. I wasn't the only one. So if he did have a hit list, at least my name wasn't at the fucking top of it. But I don't think he ever found out it was me because this was like almost 10 years ago probably. But just let this be a story. Fellas, before you go putting your thing where it probably don't belong in the first place, do your due diligence and at least find out whose house you're stepping into. I'll put it like that. Don't watch Sex in the City, ladies and gentlemen. Just don't watch it. So yes, it is true. I have never in my life hit a blunt, hit a bong, ripped a dab, took an edible, none of that shit, right? And there's nothing wrong with smoking weed in my opinion. If you want to do it, that's fine. I don't think less of somebody because they smoke weed. I'm not trying to act like I'm high and mighty because I don't. I just choose not to for my own personal reasons. So I grew up around weed a lot. A lot of my older cousins, my older brother, a lot of my friends, a lot of the older kids in the neighborhood, everybody smoked weed. A lot of them sold weed. I was just around it a lot, you know? And just being exposed to it a lot. I never felt like the need to do it because they did it, but the idea of weed and smoking weed, I guess became so normal at such a young age. I just didn't really care about it, you know? And of course, there's always gonna be a ton of peer pressure growing up. That's a big part of it. Bro, I can't tell you the amount of times I got offered weed, pills, coke, wild shit, you know what I mean? And I've never really understood peer pressure, and it is kind of a cliche, but it's the whole thing your mom says. If your friends go and jump off a bridge, are you gonna do it too? You know, it's like, I understand the concept of caving in and maybe making some sacrifices or doing something a little out of character, you know, to fit in, especially if it's with people that are your friends or you want to like you. And there's been plenty of times in my life where, like I said, I acted a little out of character, or I did something I probably shouldn't have done or would normally have done, trying to impress either a girl or like people I wanted to like me. I'm not saying that's not a thing. So I understand the aspect of peer pressure, and it's because weed has become such a norm, it's probably looked at like, I know for a fact, I've been out on dates where, you know, the women smoke and they ask me, do you smoke? Are you 420 friendly? All that shit, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I don't care if you smoke, but I don't. And they just look at you like you're a fucking leopard, like I'm weird. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. So this one time I was going with one of my cousins and his little brother, so another younger cousin. And we're just gonna go, like, you know, down the block to like a corner store to get some food, snacks. I think he wanted to go get some Swishers. And so I go with him, right? He's smoking while we go. I'm not thinking anything of it. We're just shooting the shit, talking about regular stuff, whatever. When we get back, I was like, all right, you know, I'm gonna dip out because I think I had just turned 16 because I just got my driver's license and I had my first car, which was this like old 2000 Toyota Corolla, little beater, but that was my shit. So I leave, right? And I didn't go straight home. I went to go hang out with another friend. Unbeknownst to me, this stupid fuck, for some reason, starts talking to his mom about, like, you know, the trip that we just took and about whatever the fuck we were talking about. And he says something along the lines of, when me and Mikey, which is what my family calls me, y'all can't call me that. I hate that they call me that. But he's like, me and Mikey were smoking a blunt. And his mom didn't really care that he smokes, but for some fucking reason, she felt obligated as soon as she heard my name involved to dial up my mom and tell her that I was smoking weed with her son. And keep in mind, she doesn't care her kids smoke. My mom very much fucking cares. My older brother smokes. My mom fucking hates it. My mom is old school, right? So I'm out, right? I'm kicking it with my friend. I went to go grab like some Wendy's or some shit, whatever. I'm having a great day. Nothing in the world could have prepared me for the fucking whirlwind that I walked into when I got home. I walk in and she just starts fucking beating my ass with, like, I don't know if it was like a piece of wood or like something, right? And it didn't really hurt. It was just like startling the fuck out of me because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I getting my ass beat right now? I didn't do nothing wrong. And she's just fucking my shit up. She's just whooping my ass for like 10-15 minutes, right? And I'm just standing there taking it because what the fuck am I? I'm not gonna like I'm gonna raise my hand at my mom. I just gotta sit there and take it. But I'm like, what the fuck did I do? What is going on? She keeps whooping my ass, whatever. She gets done. Basically, she went to go rest up. She walks away, right? Maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, she walks back up to me, hits me again, like on the leg or some shit. She's like, why the fuck are you smoking weed? And I'm just like, huh? What? I was like, what are you talking about? And she, obviously she's assuming that I'm lying about it. So she gets pissed off. So she starts hitting me again. And she's like, why are you smoking weed? Why are you smoking? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, I haven't smoked weed. You can smell me. I don't smell like weed. I might smell like stinky because I'm a teenager, but I was like, I don't smell like fucking weed. I don't have weed in the house. I was like, what are you talking about? So she whoops my ass for like another 5 minutes, right? I guess she tires herself out. Like maybe an hour later, after I'm licking my wounds, right? I was fine, but she comes back like an hour later and she tells me what this dumb fuck said to his mom, and she called her, and I was like, you believe that fucking shithead? I was like, I didn't smoke with him. I was like, we were walking and he was smoking, and she don't believe me. She think I'm lying. So she goes to Walmart the next day or somewhere, and she gets like one of those home drug kit tests, right? And I don't know if y'all have ever, it's an ethereal experience. Arguing with a woman, any man or lesbian or whatever, y'all gonna know exactly who the fuck I'm talking about. Or arguing with your parents. All of you know what the fuck I'm talking about with that. Now arguing with a woman that's your parent, next level shit. But have y'all ever had that experience, right, where you're arguing with a woman and you know you're right, like you know it, and they think they're right, and that fucking moment of like clairvoyance, it's like the angels start singing when they realize that they were wrong and you were right. Oh, when the results of that drug test came back and I was clean. Ooh, motherfucker, I was standing there just smug. Cause I was mad that she didn't believe me and she believed him, cause he was kind of a loser. Not that I was like a winner, but like, I was like, why the fuck would you believe what he says over me? So I wasn't mad about getting my ass whooped, cause it really didn't hurt. It was just like, I was just mad that she didn't believe me. So I'm sitting there looking at her with this just smug fucking look on my face. And even to this day, I don't let her live that shit down. I bring it up, not all the time, but at least like once or twice a year I bring that shit up. So like that pissed me off, right? And again, like I said, I grew up around that kind of shit. I grew up around family members smoking. It wasn't a thing to me. It didn't even register in my mind it happened so often. Weed is two things that people don't like to admit to themselves. It is a lot more addictive than people play it out to be. Of course, it's nothing on par with like doing fucking black tar heroin or fucking meth or even like, alcoholism and pills and all. Of course it's not going to compare that kind of stuff. I don't think it's a literal addiction to like it's not an addiction to the THC. I think it's an addiction to the sensation that it gives you. But it is a lot more addictive, and it is a hell of a lot more expensive than people like to admit it is. Bro, I can't tell you that my fucking older brother, when I was like 11 or 12, this bitch pawned, I think it was my GameCube and my iPod Shuffle, which back then was like actually worth something. He pawned both of them for fucking money for weed and never got them back. So he basically gave my shit away for pennies on the dollar so he could go buy weed. And like that was one of the first instances that I realized I was like they doing some stupid shit just to get high. And then as I got older and I kept seeing more and more instances of like older cousins, people I know, bro, I saw people pushing back paying their rent, paying their light bill, getting food just so they can go buy some weed. And like, how many people do you know that wake up in the morning, wipe the crust out of their eyes, maybe brush their teeth, and then immediately start smoking? How many people do you know that have to, like, they'll go through, like, they gotta spend the entire day high just to get through the day? And, like, bro, that shit adds up, especially if you're doing it on the daily. Dog, I knew people who were spending, like, $300 a week on weed. I'm like, bro, you're spending fucking $1,200 a month on something that isn't necessary at all? Meanwhile, you're struggling to make your car note, you're behind on your rent, you're fucking having to sacrifice paying one bill this month and paying it next month because you can't. And it's like, they don't see that they don't see that they're, call a spade, their addiction to this thing is causing an issue. And it just blew my mind. And like, I noticed, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have noticed, like back in the 80s and shit like that, right? It was like the cool kids smoke cigarettes and shit, right? Like the tough guys, the kids from across the tracks, like that kind of shit. Bro, when I was a kid, that shit transferred to everybody smoked weed. It wasn't like the cool kids no more, and it wasn't even like in the early 2000s when it was the stoners, obviously, like the skateboarders, the fucking surfer kids. Like, they were the main ones who like used to smoke weed, right? That was like back when they used to call it reefer and like nerdy shit like that. Gang, by the time I was in high school, like 2013, 14, bro, everybody was smoking. It wasn't the cool kids no more. It wasn't the bad kids no more. It was everybody, dog. The fucking cheerleaders was smoking blunts. Gang, the fucking nerds was smoking weed. The kids that used to play like Dungeons and Dragons and Yu-Gi-Oh at lunch, which looking back, there's nothing wrong with it, but when you're a kid, you're like, what the fuck? Bro, those kids were hitting blunts in the goddamn parking lot after school. It was like, it went from this thing that was like a select group did it to everybody did it. And instead of being the odd man out when you were like the pothead, I was the fucking odd man out because I was the only one who was just living stone sober. And it just became the regular thing to do. And you know what? I'm going to reiterate. If you want to smoke weed, if you smoke all the time, you know, like, that's your business. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. As long as you're not letting it negatively affect your life. You know, as long as you're not sacrificing your financial responsibilities just so you can smoke. You know, as long as you're not letting it impair your fucking motor functions when you have shit to do. As long as you're not sacrificing something that's actually important just to get high, bro, smoke as much as you want. Does it have negative effect on your lungs? I don't know. I don't smoke, so I don't really need to know. But, you know, like, there's nothing wrong with it if you want to use it recreationally. I know a lot of people need it medicinally. I've been dealing with insomnia lately. I might need to start smoking just to fucking go to sleep. I don't know. But, like, there's nothing wrong with it, bro. But there's also nothing wrong with just not wanting to get high, bro. You don't have to get high to have a good time. You do not need to smoke weed. You do not need to pop pills. You do not need to drink. You do not need to sip fucking lean. Like, bro, you do not have to. The shit that people don't realize is, like, you're doing something for self-gratification in the moment to make yourself feel better, but you're not realizing that's going to make you feel worse in the long run. A lot of people use drugs and alcohol and all this other addictive shit to escape, you know, the stresses of life and shit like that. And I understand. Everybody has different vices. Some people it's food, some people it's video games, some people it's fucking TikTok, some people it's alcohol, weed, all that other shit. But like my main thing is, like, if you don't want to do that, don't let like peer pressure or the fact that it's considered the norm or whatever the fuck now. Don't let that cloud your judgment and make you feel like you're obligated to do something you don't want to do, or you feel like you don't need to do, or you're just not interested in. That's enough. I know I've been yapping for a minute. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. I've been Yankee. Peace. You know, I won't act like I'm some kind of psychiatrist and I really understand the human psyche that much. I'm just a dude who's been around the block a few times. But I've kind of come to the conclusion that I think being ghosted by somebody tends to be more of a them problem than a you problem. I'm not saying there's no weirdos out there who, you know, just make people uncomfortable or don't understand social interactions. Sometimes y'all get ghosted because you're just a little creepy. But in my personal opinion, getting ghosted was never about you. It was always about them. I ran into a shorty I dated for a little while a few weeks ago, right? And it had been probably like 3 years since I'd last seen her. And when I saw her, you know, it was kind of awkward. I was like, oh, I don't know what to say. And before I could really make up my mind, she ended up walking up to me and, you know, she cracked a smile. She was like, hey, how you doing? And we kind of just started talking for a few minutes, you know, just whatever, chit-chatting. And she asked me, she was like, you know, do you want to go grab some food and catch up? And I wasn't sure, you know, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea or not. But I was honestly just kind of hungry at the time. It was like 2 in the afternoon. I hadn't eaten all day, so I said, fuck it, why not? So we got some Subway, and we sat down to eat at this little park that was like right next to it, right? And we talked for a little while, you know, while we ate. And just as we were finishing up our food, I noticed that she got like real quiet all of a sudden, right? So I asked her, I was like, yo, you all right? And she just kind of gave me this like really sad look. So I asked her again, I was like, you know, are you okay? She said, sorry. And I had an idea about what she was apologizing for already, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't really want to jump to conclusions and say, oh, because of this, and, you know, just make an awkward situation even more awkward. And then she said, for ending things how I did, it wasn't your fault. I was dealing with a lot. And I really didn't know what to say. You know, so truth is, what happened was, you know, we had went on like 3 or 4 dates, and everything between us was going like really, really well. You know, like we had even hooked up a few times, like the sex was good. We got along real well. Like everything was going good. But then like 2 months in, just boom, she ghosted me. Never said a word back, not a call, not a text, fucking nothing. And, you know, I texted her for like damn near a whole week. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was kind of worried because she worked at a hospital, and I was like, you know, maybe something bad should happen. I don't know. But truth be told, you know, I just, honestly, I did really like her. And I was kind of simping for her. And it took like 4 or 5 days of me texting her like 2-3 times a day, like, yo, you okay? What's going on? Before, you know, it kind of had sunk in, and I knew what it was, you know. It happened before, and it happened again. I got ghosted. all I could really think to say was, I was like, it's all right, you know. I was like, I'm sure you had your reasons. I wanted to say a lot more than that, you know. I wanted to kind of curse her out because this shit hurt. You know, I don't know if people realize like how much ghosting somebody can absolutely fuck with their head. But as soon as I finished saying it's all right and whatever, whatever, she kind of blurted out. She's like, no, it's not. You know, she proceeded to tell me, you know, like she had a lot of shit going on, and I kind of understand now. And the biggest thing that kind of caught me off guard was the fact that she told me she was catching feelings for me like really, really hard and really, really fast, and faster than she thought she would. And she said, you know, she just couldn't really handle everything going on at the same time, and she just kind of stopped texting back and just kind of like a turtle going into a shell type shit. But the shit is, you know, she said like supposedly after like a week or so that she started to kind of feel a little bit more normal. She wanted to text me back, but when she saw all the texts that I had sent her, and you know, she realized that I was worried about her, and then, you know, that I kind of came to understand that she just wasn't going to talk to me again, whatever, whatever. She was like, it felt like too much time had passed and you probably wouldn't have wanted to talk to me again anyway. So, you know, I told her again, I was like, look, it's fine. Because it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to say? Like, you ghosted me. I'm not going to tell you something to make you feel better about the situation. And it's like, I'm not trying to argue with you. I haven't seen you in 3 years. I haven't thought about you. Basically, like, there was no point, you know. I was just like, it's fine. Fuck it. Whatever. It's cool. Was it really fine? Of course not, bro. That shit makes you question every single thing you did, every single thing you said. Question your own worth. Question if you're attractive enough. Question if the sex was good. Like, it just, getting ghosted fucking sucks. And like, it's an easy way to kill your self-esteem. And like I said, the shit's happened to me a few times, and every single time the shit's happened, I'm taken by complete shock, bro. Like, it's one thing if I knew I was like kind of a douchebag or like what, like, or if I knew I was being like too, you know, like too much, like if I was just putting too much pressure on them. Like, I would understand that. Every time, it was like shit was going damn near perfect. And then, boom, all of a sudden, they're gone. And you know what? I'm going to admit it. I catch feelings easily. And I like to pretend that I don't. But, like, between you and me, dog, I'm a softie. Like, for a guy who says he's never been in love before, and it is true, I have not. I love the idea of love. You know, like, the idea of, like, having somebody to give myself to. And like, somebody who's always just gonna be there for you. Like, I'm somebody who's always been so emotionally unavailable at the worst times, and then other times I'm emotionally dependent on the wrong women. Like, anytime a woman shows me some kind of affection and attention, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I kind of get hooked easily. And like, I know that, and I know that's not a good thing, but you know, most of the time I'm gonna pretend and lie to myself, and I won't admit it. You know, I was like, oh no, you know, I'm good. I pretend like I'm good being on my own and single and alone. But like, the truth is, like, the only reason I'm okay being alone a lot is because I've never really had that feeling of knowing somebody is there for me. Like, knowing I have somebody that's gonna love me at my best and at my worst. And as I'm sitting here talking to this girl, right, having this conversation, having this back and forth, me pretending like I didn't care, whatever, and all these insecurities are bubbling up to the surface because it's like every time I got ghosted, it's like I come so close to experiencing this feeling that I've built up in my head, right? And then all of a sudden the shit just gets ripped away, and I assume I'm at fault. Like, oh, I don't look good enough. I wasn't interesting enough. I didn't do the right things. The worst one of all is like afterwards, you like that regret you feel about opening up to somebody. Like, that shit's hard for me, dog. It's hard for me to let the walls down and, like, you know, let people in. Like, I always get buyer's remorse when I tell somebody something I feel is, like, personal. Because in my mind, like, oh, that's just going to be something that they can use as ammo against me down the line for an argument or a reason to leave or whatever the fuck. And like I said, you know, I'm thinking about all this shit as I'm sitting here talking to her. But, you know, after the second time I said it was fine, I was kind of just, I didn't have anything else to say. You know, she looked at me and she was like, no, it wasn't. She was like, you did nothing wrong. I liked you. You were sweet to me. Even my friends liked you. Which I'm sitting here thinking, that's even worse. It's like, if I was doing everything right and I still got hurt, like, well, what the fuck? But, you know, she went on to explain that, like, a lot of the fear she was feeling was due to, you know, like, past experiences and relationships with guys who treated her shitty. And, like, I understand that, bro. And that's, like, a tale as old as time. I've heard that from women a bunch of times. But it's like, gang, that's not fair that I get my head fucked with because somebody else did you wrong. But you know what? I understand that's life, and sometimes that's just how people work. It is what it is. And you know what? As we were getting ready to leave after our lunch and that overly emotional ass fucking talk, she asked if I would like to hang out sometime. And I would love to tell you that I was like, nah, I'm good, maintain my pride, walked away. some real like main character of the anime type shit. I'm not that cool. I was like, I don't know, maybe, because I was thinking no, but I just didn't want to say no. So I was like, I don't know, maybe. So I got her number and I left. And it's been like a little over 2 weeks, right? I still haven't texted her. Honestly, don't think I'm gonna. But all this shit has just got me thinking about like relationships and women and dating people, ghosting, like all this shit, right? And the timing is insane because my homeboy told me like 3 days ago that he just got ghosted by a girl. So I was asking him some questions, just trying to kind of let him know, like, hey man, it's all good. Shit happens. Like, it's happened to me before. It's probably gonna happen again. Like, it's not you. And, he was telling me exactly the kind of shit that I used to think to myself, like, he liked her for real. They've been out on dates. They hooked up. Everything was going good. And then all of a sudden, again, boom, he's dead to her. And I was like, what's her name, right? Because I live in a city. It's a small city. So a lot of people know each other. Not everybody knows each other, but a lot of people know each other. So I was just curious, right? I was like, what's her name? And he told me. I was like, oh shit, I do know her. And I told him, I was like, dog, I know for a fact she been fucking with a dude on and off for like 4 or 5 years now. And dog, when I told him, bro, you could see in his eyes that like something clicked. Like, motherfucker had like one of those like, oh, everything makes sense now expressions. He told me, all those times that she was hanging out with her cousin and that shit sounded suspicious. He's like, oh, I put 2 and 2 together. He's like, now I get it. And she blocked him on all the socials that they had followed each other and shit on. So I was like, all right, let me go look. Lo and behold, she back with the same fucking dude again. She got back with him again for probably another 4 or 5 months till they break up and do the dance again. And so, like, I keep thinking about texting this girl. And I'm not sure why. Part of me kind of wants to rekindle what we had. Part of me wants to like curse her out for the shit she pulled. But part of me is like still wondering. I'm wondering, like, even though she told me all the reasons why she did what she did, was it really all on her? Or like, was it me too? This made me think about the other girls who have ghosted me before. Stories I've heard from friends about being ghosted, guys and girls alike. Because dudes aren't exempt. Dudes ghost women too. And I've kind of come to this realization that getting ghosted isn't necessarily about you. It's usually a them thing. And don't get it twisted. Like, some of y'all motherfuckers are unfortunately just weirdos and creeps. Some of y'all get ghosted because you genuinely just give off serial killer vibes, and shorty who ghosted you might have thought she was in danger. So I'm like, I'm not, I'm not trying to be mean, but we can call it spade a spade. Some of y'all are just beyond socially awkward. And to be fair, I've met my fair share of psycho women that I probably should have cut ties with at the first couple of signs of red flags. But you know what they say, crazy girls fuck the best. Whatever. But like, the rare cases aside, right? I really do think it's more about them. Like, whatever issues they have, fear of abandonment, trust issues, fear of commitment. Maybe you was a side piece and they got caught by their dude or their lady, like, whatever the fuck. It's unfortunate because like, all the ramifications of them ghosting you is gonna fall on you. All the bullshit of what they just pulled, you gotta deal with. But I don't think it's necessarily your fault or like because of you. We're all trying to learn and grow as we become adults and shit. And we drag this baggage that we've kind of gotten along the way with us. And I think some people, deal with it better than others. Some people just choose to not deal with it at all. And, some see themselves falling for a person and for whatever reason they get scared. Maybe they realize they're not ready to give somebody what they need, or maybe they just think they can't do it at all. Maybe they realize they want different things than the person they're dealing with, whatever the fuck. It's a whole list of shit it could be. But I understand hearing it's not your fault isn't gonna like wash away all the shit that comes with getting ghosted and how it makes you feel. But maybe just use this as a reminder that sometimes people just suck. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe she was just a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Maybe his dick was little. Fuck him. Like, sometimes they do shitty shit to you, and it's not because of you. It's just because of them. When I was 25, I got invited to this work conference from my job at the time. It was like a 5-day thing in Tennessee, and I'd never been before, so I decided I was gonna go. There was a bunch of people from the company, our area, and other states too. And I went. It was cool. Nothing like super exciting. I mainly went for the free food, to be honest, and like a chance just to see a part of the country I hadn't been to before. On the second to last day, a big group of people from our state decided to meet up after the conference thing and go kick it in the city. So I went. I only knew one dude out of the 12 people, so it was a little awkward, I've never really been the most outgoing guy. I'm friendly enough, but like, it takes me a long time to warm up to new people. So halfway through the night, we're all at dinner, and we rented out like this giant table in a nice restaurant. It was like one of those like rich people tables with just enough seating for all 12 of us. And I was sitting like right in the middle of the table, which was the worst fucking spot. And to my left was the dude I was cool with. His name was Josh. But to my right was a girl I had never met before. She worked at a branch that was like 30 minutes away, so we'd never really crossed paths before. And bro, she was like complete opposite of me. Like, I was quiet most of the night. I barely said a word to anybody besides Josh. She'd gotten to the point where she knew everybody's name and was acting like she'd been friends with everybody for years. Everyone but me. We hadn't really spoken much more than like a hi, how are you from earlier. Some of the guys got up after we finished eating to go smoke or vape or some shit. So it was like 8 of us left at the table. Josh went to go call his girlfriend, so I was just sitting there scrolling on my phone. And then all of a sudden somebody touched my arm, and I looked and it was her. And she said something like, this city's been so much fun, I don't even want to go home. With this big ass cheesy smile just looking straight at me. And I laughed and agreed, kind of doing that like awkward, just agreeing and going with whatever somebody just said type shit. She asked me my name and I told her, and she told me her name was Rose. We all ended up going to the movies after dinner, and I don't know why, but me and Rose just kind of got like super cool, super quick. Like, we just clicked. And walking to the theater, she was basically only talking to me the whole time, and it was the first time that night that I talked as much as I did. We finished up the work trip the next day, and a bunch of us ended up having breakfast at the hotel. And as everybody was, getting ready to leave and saying their goodbyes and exchanging numbers and all that shit, just I guess so they could hang out again and link up once we got back home, I was in the lobby waiting on my Uber. And then Rose walked up and started talking to me again. And she asked, what department I worked in and what branch I worked at. So I told her. And that's when we found out that we were like 20 minutes away from each other. And she asked to exchange numbers just in case, we needed something from the other's store. And, I was like, yeah, sure. So we talked a little bit before my Uber got there. I left and I didn't really think too much into it. Like 2 or 3 days later, I got a text from her saying hi and that it was nice talking when we did and all that, And randomly, we just kind of started talking, texting back and forth like every day for a week straight. She was 24, so we were like the same age. And we were definitely into different things. And we had different personalities, but we had a really similar sense of humor. And shit, for me, that was more than enough to go off of. So after like a week and a half, she asked if I'd like to hang out with her. And I really couldn't believe it, because I'm not gonna lie, gang, this girl was like super pretty. Like, she was cute as hell. She was like 5'5", slim, but with like a nice body, long curly brown hair. Apparently she was half Armenian and half Cuban. So obviously I said yeah. And we went on what ended up being our first date. And fast forward like 3 months later, we're dating. And man, this girl, bro, she was the complete opposite of me. Like, so cheerful and happy and outgoing. I've always been like super quiet and reserved unless I really like know you for real. She loved getting up early in the morning. I'm a night owl. She had like the most bubbly ass personality. I've always been kind of like overly serious about most shit. But I don't know, we just kind of worked well. She was full of life. I never spent that much time around somebody like that, the kind of person who can like literally light up a room. Bro, she could have walked into a funeral and it would have been a fucking house party by the time she walked out. Like, she was very much the main character. After around, I think, 6 months of us dating, she wanted us to move in together, and I just wasn't really ready for that. I have way too many commitment issues and other problems that I'm still working on now, so back then I was always just too in my head about everything. So unfortunately, it kind of ended up being something that she got hung up on, and things ended up not working out between us. A month after we broke up, we started talking again, and we ended up staying friends for the most part. You know, we would talk a few times a week, and eventually that kind of faded into more like once a month. And after time passed, and eventually I moved, that turned into like not at all. 2 years later, randomly one day I get a text from Josh, and we ended up being cool for real. Like, we had each other's numbers, and we'd shoot the shit and catch up a couple times a year. Like, he was a good dude. But he called me though after he texted me, which he never really did. And I didn't pick up because I assumed it was an accident or something. And I saw a text from him that said, "Yo, did you hear about what happened with Rose?" And it took me a second to realize who he meant, because at the time, like I said, it had been years at that point. And the three of us had never spent time together, so it just didn't click. But I texted him back, "Nah, what happened?" And he called me again. I pick up, and he told me apparently she killed herself. She took a bunch of pills one night and just never woke up. Didn't leave a note. Nobody understood why, least of all me. Dog, this girl was so fucking happy all the time. And not that like put on a show for everybody else type happy. At least that's not what it seemed like. I'm not gonna lie, the news fucked me up. Not only because, you know, I really liked and cared about her, but because I couldn't understand what happened. You know, I know all too well about what it's like to put on a show for other people and seem okay when you're dealing with shit internally. But like, we used to talk, man. Like really talk. Like, we'd be up all night sometimes, down there fucking philosophizing about life and the meaning of life and all that shit. And she was always really optimistic. She had a plan for her life. She was the light of almost everybody's life. Like, I just don't understand what the fuck happened. Even now, you know, years after she died, I don't know why. How things could have changed so much for her in such a short time. I was going through my phone last week, deleting old pictures and shit, just to get a little bit more storage back, and I found some old selfies of hers, and still had a picture of me and her on my phone. And I just kind of looked at them, you know, and looked at her. Bro, she had the cutest smile, bro. Big ass white teeth. And it was funny, she had really sharp canines, like the sharpest I'd ever seen. I used to crack jokes with her and call her a vampire. And it just got me thinking about her, you know, and about us, about how we met, how we were together, all that shit. And all the time we were together, we didn't have a single fight, except for the me not wanting to move in with her thing. But she was so easygoing, you know, she was down for whatever. Her worst quality literally was just how picky of an eater she was. And Jesus Christ, that girl was fucking picky, but, you know. But like, I just been thinking about it the past week. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that, you know, I kind of wondered if she'd still be around if we didn't break up. Not that I think I'm that wonderful that living without me isn't worth living or some shit like that, but I just wonder. You know, I know what it's like to, at some point in your life, not want to be alive anymore, to seriously consider that. The thought sometimes that the idea of life feels almost too heavy to shoulder and it's not worth trying. I just wonder if she felt whatever it was that she felt that made her take her own life. You know, I wonder if she would have felt that if we stayed together, or if I would have been able to help her through it. You know, I know it's not my fault. It was almost 3 years after we'd broken up. I assume she dated other dudes, I dated other women, but I don't know, I could never wrap my head around it. She's the one person I couldn't imagine checking out early. You know, like, I think about all the shit she gonna miss out on, and all the parts of life she'll never experience. A lot of things I'll probably take for granted, you know. I don't know why, I just feel kind of guilty. And like I said, it's not like it was because of me, but I feel bad because I wasn't there for her when she needed somebody, obviously. We had gotten like really close in the time we were together, and she made me happy in a time in my life when I wasn't doing too good. I remember one night she stayed over at my place, and I was off, you know, she could tell. She asked what was wrong, and I did the same shit I've always done. Said nothing, I'm fine. And that night we were watching a show that she loved. It was called Scorpions, a show about like a team of geniuses who work for the government doing a bunch of like unrealistic action hero shit. It was cheesy, but it was a good show. She loved it because it reminded her of her brother. He has autism, but he's like super, super smart, like damn near a math genius. We were watching it, but I was kind of checked out mentally. You know, we were laying in bed and I was just kind of staring at the ceiling when I noticed that she was looking at me and not the TV. I thought she was going to ask me, you know, what was wrong again, but she just leaned over and kissed me. And then she made me lay down in front of her, like my body between her legs. And she made me watch the show with her while she was playing with my hair. And I fell asleep like that. And I woke up around 4 a.m. and she was still there. She was still watching Scorpion. And keep in mind, this girl, like, she was always a wake up early kind of girl. Like, her staying up past 1 a.m. was almost fucking unheard of. And here it was, like, 4:15 in the morning. I asked her, I was like, why are you still up, you know? And all she said was, you looked comfy and I didn't want to wake you up. That was the kind of person that she was. The kind of woman that she was. She sacrificed her own sleep that night so I could sleep comfortably because she was worried about me. You never know what somebody's dealing with or what they're going through, so just please check up on them when you can. She always did so much for me and everybody else around her, and honestly, I just wish so badly that I could have returned that favor. Back when I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, there was this local neighborhood dog that I used to play with on my way to school. He didn't have a name, but he loved when I'd give him these peanut butter crackers on my way to school that my mom packed for me, so I started calling him Skippy. I was a kid, I thought it was a cool name. Looking back, it was terrible, but whatever. He was a little scraggly, but he was really sweet and honestly wasn't a bad looking dog even for a stray. He always seemed real lonely, you know, sad. And this wasn't long after my dad split, so I could kind of understand how he felt. I became really close to Skippy. Every single day on my way to school and on my way home for 3 blocks, he would walk with me. I'd play with him, feed him, and he always seemed real happy to see me. On my first birthday after my dad left, I told my mom I wanted to go outside to play, but I really just wanted to go play with Skippy. I had never done it before, but I went to the alley that he usually sleeps in, and I sat down by where he liked to sleep. It was the first time I'd done it, and he kind of just sat by this dumpster that was across the alleyway and looked at me confused. It took probably 10 or 15 minutes, but eventually he came up to me, let me pet him, and he laid down. And I remember he curled up right by my hand, I guess so I could pat his head while he laid there. And I sat there for what felt like hours, crying, you know, missing my dad, wondering if it was my fault, wondering if he didn't love me anymore. I spent most of my birthday sitting in an alley all alone with Skippy, crying, sad. I got really, really attached to Skippy after that. At that point, he was my dog. My mom wouldn't let me bring him home, but I started to spend more and more free time with him when I could. I'd even leave early in the morning so that I could play with him before school. One morning, like 2 weeks before summer vacation, Skippy wasn't around. I waited and waited. I waited until I was almost late for school, but I never saw him. He'd always come to meet me, but that day he didn't. And I didn't see him on my way home, or the next day, or the next day. That Friday after school, I went looking for him, you know, in the usual places that he'd usually hang around, but nothing. So I went to the alleyway where he used to sleep, and I started to get really worried at that point. You know, I was like, shit, he might have got hit by a car, or maybe animal control came and got him or something. As I was leaving, I looked over at the spot where I got him to lay with me, and there he was. I ran over, but as I ran over, you know, I knew something bad was coming, but I was a kid, you know, I convinced myself he was fine, he was probably just tired. And the closer I got, the more I realized it was not fine. I walked up to him and he was gone. But the worst part was that he laid in the exact same spot where he laid with me on my birthday. Not by the chimney where he'd sleep at night. He laid down where he laid with me. And I remember how badly my face hurt. I was crying that hard. Like so hard that the muscles in my face fucking were stinging. Like I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I cried for so long that one of the employees who worked at the bakery ended up coming outside for like a smoke break or something and found me. And, you know, they ran over thinking I was hurt or something like that, and they tried to console me. He ended up calling my mom, and she came and got me. She knew about Skippy, but I don't think she knew about, like, what he meant to me. When we got home, I went straight to sleep, and I slept all night. That Saturday morning was probably the first time in my life I think I really experienced depression. I didn't want my usual cereal for breakfast. I didn't want to watch the cartoons I usually watched. I didn't want to play video games. I didn't want to go outside. I just kind of sat there by the window for a while and looked outside. Finally, my mom came over and talked to me. I guess the guy from the bakery told her that I was crying uncontrollably over a dog, and she put two and two together. And we talked, and she asked me about Skippy, and I ended up telling her everything, you know, how he'd follow me on my way home from school, that I named him Skippy because I gave him those peanut butter crackers that she would always buy for me, which she really wasn't thrilled about. She bought them for me, but, you know, whatever. And eventually I told her, you know, about my birthday and how I didn't really go outside to play, but I actually went outside to go be with him. And how I sat with him in this alleyway for hours crying, and that he didn't leave my side once. And I think it really hit her how much my father leaving must have really affected me. I mean, like, you know, she knew, of course, but I guess hearing your kid tell you that they spent their birthday crying with a stray dog to console them in some fucking dirty alleyway kind of puts things into perspective. I didn't really realize it at the time, but my mom did, you know. The reason I was so sad about Skippy dying, it wasn't because he was my dog, at least in my head. It wasn't because I used him to fill the void that my father left. It was because it was my first real experience with death. My grandmother had died when I was like 3, but you know, you're too young to really understand at that point. I knew what death was by 7, 8 years old, whenever this was, but I had never felt it personally. Skippy was the first person, thing, soul, animal, whatever, that I loved in my life that I saw dead, that I really realized was gone. And she did what all moms would do. She told me that, you know, he was in doggy heaven with all the peanut butter crackers and girl dogs to chase around and stuff to pee on that he'd ever want. It took me a few weeks, you know, especially all of a sudden having to walk to school completely alone, but slowly I got over the heartbreak of losing Skippy. And after that summer passed by and enough time, it wasn't about him being gone anymore. It started to be more like me remembering him chasing me around and running after me trying to get a cracker, and instead of crying when I thought about, you know, when he laid with me on my birthday, I smiled. I hadn't thought about Skippy in shit, I can't even tell you how long it's been. But I had a dream about my father a few weeks ago from when I was a kid. He was taking me to this pizza place, and for some reason we walked by the alley that Skippy slept in. And I swear to God, it was like memories flooded my mind when I woke up from that dream. It was like, I don't know, 4 in the morning, some shit like that. And gang, I was sobbing, thinking about a dead dog from fucking 20 years ago. And I'm wondering in my head, I'm like, why the fuck is Skippy in a dream about my dad? But then it kind of clicked. I was like, oh shit, my dad is gone too. Skippy was there for me when my dad left. Like when my whole world got flipped on its head, right? And my mom has told me this before, you know, like how drastically I changed after my father dipped. And I went from being energetic, happy, and you know, super outgoing, the kind of kid that, you know, like would make conversation with strangers at the grocery store, and she would see me light up the eyes of some old lady or some shit, you know, to being quiet, to not having interest in all the shit that I used to love to do, you know, to being the kind of kid that didn't even ask for a toy when we went to the grocery store, let alone talk to people. Just completely 180'd. And I mentioned Skippy to her a couple days ago, and I asked her if she remembered him, and you know, she did vaguely. And she said that after he started to come around, you know, she started to notice a glimpse of the kid I was before my father left. She was like, not exactly the same, but you know, you were a little like noticeably more happy. And I asked if she remembered when he died, and she said she did. You know, she said that like for a week or two, I was worse than when my father left. She told me there was a few times that She basically had to force me to eat because I was going like the entire day, never once asking for food or saying that I was hungry. But she said, eventually I seemed to get better. And I've been thinking about it all these last couple of days, my father leaving. And what happened with me, Skippy dying, all that shit. And the dream, the dream was it was a weird one. I was like, why did I have a dream about both of them? Why would I have a dream about my dead father and a dead stray dog? I've been thinking about it. This happened like 2 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it. And I might just be doing like mental gymnastics here, but I think it kind of happened for a reason. The dog popped into my life just after, like literally probably a week after my father left. I had never, I knew the dog was in the neighborhood and stuff like that, but I had never really interacted with him before. And all of a sudden, he's coming up to me, I'm feeding him, all this other shit. And the shit is like this dog kind of gave me back happiness that I had lost at some point. Him dying, my father. It feels like Skippy was kind of like representation of my father in my adult life. And I know that shit sounds crazy. Check it out. My dad leaves, and then this dog comes into my life. And it's a very simple, cute companionship at first, but then, I get really attached. I start to feel happier. I start to genuinely love the dog, and then he dies. My father and I were estranged for like over 10 years. Then we reconnected. Just, texting and shooting the shit at first, but then we get close. We talk about life, his mistakes, my mistakes, our experiences, and, like things that happened to us, whatever. And, like we start to genuinely begin to rebuild our relationship as a father and son. And then he dies. Now, I'd say it's probably just me trying to comfort myself in some way, but it feels like everything that happened with Skippy happened for a reason. It's like that whole experience was like a test run to prepare me for what was going to happen with my own father. I talk about my dad a lot in my videos and shit, and it's because he's gone. I miss him more than I can really, really put into words. And maybe it's not him that I miss, or like that I grieve over. Maybe it's the relationship that we never got to really see come together. Maybe it's the fact that I'll never get to experience what it's really like to have a father in your life for like a significant amount of time. But I look back at Skippy, and I think now I see that whole thing for what it was. I guess for me, my father leaving and meeting this dog and coming to love this dog and getting attached to this dog and him dying, and it reflecting on the same way things happened with my father later in my life. I guess all of it was just to get me ready for losing a parent and learning to deal with it. I guess for me, it was a canon event. So back when I was in high school, I want to say this was maybe 11th grade, probably 10th grade, so like 2012, 13, sometime around there, right? I had my own little friend group. It was, but like I was cool with everybody for the most part. And my little like group of people, like it was my boy Eddie, this other kid named Zakir, and I don't know, it was a bunch of motherfuckers, but there was this one dude named Kendrick. Kendrick was cool. He was a light-skinned motherfucker, like blue eyes. Like he was like a real pretty boy ass motherfucker, but he was super cool, whatever. And I don't remember what happened, but one day I think me and him was kind of beefing a little bit, or I don't think it was like a week. I think me and him kind of got into it like on a Monday or Tuesday, and like by Friday, like we was just kind of at that point where like, you ready to just like, all right, like let's go in the hallway and settle this shit type shit. So I want to say it was like Thursday or Friday, right? And same shit, like tensions in the air, like, and the fucked up thing was like the friend group was just, it was like kind of awkward because it was this typical high school shit. Like, we get there in the morning and we would all sit at the same like cafeteria table, eat breakfast, shoot the shit, whatever, like that first 45 minutes before school started. And it was just awkward because everybody knew me and bro had tension going on, and then like it was a little extra weird because I think like 2 people out of the group of like 9 were like his cousins and like family. So they were super cool with me, and I think whatever the conflict was, they were on my side in that situation. But because obviously, all right, that's my cousin, that's my family, you kind of feel like you gotta back them up too. So it was just weird because with the tension in the group, motherfuckers was kind of picking sides or like playing the fence or just like kind of doing what I personally would do in that situation. Like, hey, bro, this is y'all issue. Leave me the fuck out of it. But it was just awkward. So we were sitting there at the cafeteria table in the morning, and everybody was there. And, you know, me and him were both sitting there. It was just like we weren't talking to each other. We weren't looking at each other, whatever. So I would talk to one motherfucker on my right or left or across the table. He would do the same. And we just avoided each other completely. It was like, it was kind of kid shit. It was stupid. And it was awkward and shit. And there was a shorty that he liked and I liked. And we both were kind of trying to fuck with her. Now, the beef wasn't over her. She comes over, right? And this is like close to spring break. And, you know, obviously some of us was planning to like go kick it. So at the time I was going to school in Alabama, where everybody in Alabama goes and does is like goes down to like Panama City Beach and all that shit. Personally, I'm more of a Miami motherfucker. Like, I think Miami is way more lit than PCB. PCB. But it's also a lot more expensive, and everybody there just kind of went to Panama City. So I was debating going with them. I wasn't really feeling it, so I was like, eh. But Shorty came over. She was chopping it up with us, whatever. And I think she had mentioned, because she was kind of like already laying down the foundation of her plans. So, like, she was getting some of her girls and some of the dudes in my group going too, and, you know, it was just kind of feeling in like, oh, do you want to go? You come in, whatever. And it gets to the point where I think she asked me, and I was kind of giving her the same, like, I don't know, maybe, like, I wasn't sure, right? And I look, this motherfucker Kendrick is over there laughing. And of course, like, nobody else is talking, so clearly he ain't laughing at something joke somebody else said. This nigga's laughing at me for some reason. So of course, it's multiple things. I already was kind of having issues with this dude. I'm like 16 or 17 or however fucking old at the time. I think I was 15 or 16. You know, hormones are through the roof, whatever. And it's like, you were not about to clown me in front of a bad shorty that we both like. So I was like, yo, nigga, like, I was like, what's up? Like, why the fuck you laughing? Like, what's funny? You know? And he's like, oh, you know, that's just like, you going somewhere. That's fucking that ain't gonna happen. You so goddamn antisocial, da. Just cause, you know, I was always like kind of the quiet motherfucker. I was just chill there. I wouldn't really partake in conversations all the time, that kind of shit. And so me and him kind of get into it again, and we're just kind of arguing, talking shit back and forth, whatever. So the bell rings, nothing happens, we go to class. Around lunchtime, which is like, I think 11, it was like 11:50 when we went to lunch. I was walking with Eddie and like two other people that were in my class at the time. And Kendrick was coming back from lunch, I think, because he went the first period lunch, I went the second period. He was coming back with, I think it might have been Zakir and like two other people as well, whatever. So Eddie stopped real quick to, you know, chop it up with Kendrick because they're cousins, they live by each other, they were talking about something, I don't know. So I was like, I'll wait with Eddie because that's my bull. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like texting somebody on my phone, whatever, I don't know. And then I hear my name be mentioned. I don't know who mentioned it, if it was Kendrick, Eddie, one of the other niggas, whatever. So I look up, and of course, you know, because Kendrick's there, I'm already assuming somebody talking shit. So I'm like, yo, nigga, what's up with you, man? Like, you know. So again, we kind of get into just stupid shit, right? So before he leaves and goes back to class and I go to lunch, I'm like, all right, bet. I'm gonna see you later. You know, that veiled threat bullshit. Like, we gonna handle this later. So I want to say around the 6th period, right? 6th period is probably like 1:45, 2 p.m. in the day. It's like we getting towards the end of the day, and I want to say this was like a Thursday or Friday. I think it was like the end of the week. I run into him in the hallway again, and it was like me, him, Eddie, Zakir, I think there's another nigga named T, and like one other person. And at this point, it's like, bro, you've been fucking poking me all day. You've been pissing me off. It's like we kind of get into another like argument again. This time it's kind of like a shouting match, and this time it gets a little physical. You know, like he pushes me, I push him back. He like fucking veils to throw a punch at me, whatever. So I'm like, all right, bro, let's settle this. I knew it wasn't like super serious because again, when you're a young dude And this is kind of like a rite of passage for men in general. Real friends, bro, y'all gotta be able to duke it out and then settle the shit and keep it pushing. And it was that kind of thing. Like, I knew this wasn't gonna be like a make or break our relationship type shit. But it was also like, I'm getting tired of your bullshit. Like, it's time for us to squash this shit the way we're supposed to. So I think he goes to push me again, and I throw a jab, not like, and again, I'm not trying to like really hurt this motherfucker, but I'm trying to like send a message. So I throw a jab, and he kind of weaves it a little bit, and I catch him in the shoulder, and he throws, not like this nigga was a boxer, but he throws like a little combo at me, right? I ducked the first one, I think it like slid off my chin, and he caught me with the second one, like, I want to say like to my clavicle or some shit, and that pissed me off. So we start kind of like tussling, like, you know, like I grab this motherfucker, he grabbed me, whatever. And the point, you know, he pushes me off of him, right? And I think I was kind of having a bad day already on top of all the shit that was going on with him. And I had some family problems going on at home. It was just a lot of shit for like a 15, 16-year-old to sort out in their brain and compartmentalize. So it gets to the point where it's like, all right, bro, shit's come to blow. I don't know why I did this, because like I've always been a little like on the huskier side, so I'm a little slow. I got power, but I was a little slow. It was good in baseball, wasn't the greatest thing in fights. So I go to like basically charge at this nigga to like throw a. I'll be honest, it was sloppy. I know how to fight a little bit. You know, I grew up in the project. I kind of had to learn. I know how to fight a little bit. This was just an emotional swing. I kind of threw like not an overhand, but it was basically like a haymaker at this motherfucker. And I caught his. I think it like caught the side of his neck. Like it basically, I just basically slid right off that shit. Like it was like one of the, like that shit. I slid right off of that shit, right? And we were doing this by like the trophy case in like the main hallway, which looking back, that's a terrible place to try to fight a motherfucker. But we doing this shit by the trophy case, right? And there's these like cement wall, or not cement. It might have been cement. It's like these cement walls or some shit right by the trophy case, right? And so I kind of slid off him, and I put just too much stupidity, I guess, into that punch. And I slid off of him, and he like sidestepped my shit. And bro, I couldn't stop my momentum. I went face fucking first into this goddamn wall. Just straight up. That's my face. It's my fucking nose going into the wall. And bro, when I tell you, it was like time stopped. He stopped talking. Like he didn't do nothing. Eddie, Zakir, T, other motherfuckers over there, they all just go dead silent. And I'm sitting there. I don't move a muscle. I don't blink. I don't think I was fucking breathing for like a good 5 seconds. And I didn't like break my nose or nothing, but I fucked myself up. I hurt myself worse than anybody else could have. Bro, I turn around, I got fucking blood all down my nose, all on my shirt. My face is red as hell. And I look at Kendrick. And Kendrick looks at me. And nigga, we both start laughing hard as shit, because it's like, I was embarrassed the fuck out of myself. He knows that. They all knew I embarrassed myself. And I was like, it was one of them where it was like, it was so bad, bro, you can't do nothing but just laugh at yourself. So I go to the bathroom, I wash my shit off, whatever. He comes in after like a good 3 or 4 minutes. You know, we dap it up, like we squabble. He apologizes, I apologize. We were both on some dickhead shit, whatever. I did, you know, I caught him with a good one here and there, but he kind of caught me with that clavicle shit. That shit hurt. And then he's like, damn, nigga, you hurt yourself worse than I could have. And it's just like, bro, it's amazing the stupidity of teenage boys and the dumb shit we do. But yeah, I fucked myself up. That kind of is like the story of my life. I do more damage to myself than I think anybody else ever could. And that's just a perfect metaphor, simile, story. I don't know the fucking the word for it. It's just a perfect way to encapsulate my fucking life. I hurt myself worse than anybody else could. When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the batting cages with my dad. He was a little bit of a baseball nut. Took me to the games, we'd watch them together on TV, had me play in Little League. Somehow even managed to finesse his way into coaching for my team. We go to the batting cages like every other weekend. And afterwards he would take me for ice cream. And I don't know if he put me on or if I just happened to try it and fall in love with it, but I would always get the coconut flavor. But after that came my favorite part. He would drive me home, me sitting in the backseat of his Toyota Camry, and he'd play me whatever his favorite jazz music at the time was. It's a core memory that I play over and over in my head. Looking at him through the rearview mirror and him smiling back at me, the music playing, all that shit. It didn't last a very long time. After he left, those kinds of memories just happened less and less. I could go on a whole yap session about, what him leaving felt like and how it affected me, but I've kind of already done that in a video before. You know the funny shit though? After all these years, the years of hurt and sadness and being angry at him and just all the bullshit, when I think of my father, the only thing I really think of is watching baseball with him coaching my team, him giving me pointers at bat, him taking me for ice cream, and that fucking car ride home. I've been alive for almost 30 years now. And in that time, I've never really been much of a crier. And I'm not trying to, make myself sound like, ooh, tough and macho, because that's not it, There's nothing wrong with crying. I was broken, I've been broken for a long time, and I'm working on fixing myself. But there was seriously times in my life, like, dead ass, I think I would cry maybe 3 or 4 times in a whole year. My father died in 2023, May 18th, exactly 2 weeks before my birthday. And you know what the biggest change I've noticed since he died? Dog, I cry so much more now. And I really didn't put it together until a couple weeks ago. But I think it's because I miss him, because I miss my dad. I can't watch shit on TV about a father and his son without fucking crying. Some days I can't even really think about him without crying. And I really don't understand why. Why is it for almost 15 years of my life, all I felt when I thought about him was anger, When I could dial him up at any time and talk to him, I didn't. And now that he's really gone, and I can never talk to him again, why is it now that so badly I want to talk to him again? It feels like I miss him more now than I did when I was a fucking kid. I thought I was handling his death well for the first year or two. And yeah, sure, I was sad and I cried a few times, yeah, but it's weird. It seems like the further and further away I get from him dying, the worse the shit seems to hurt. It's like the part of me that stopped being a kid when he left is all that's left for me. All the memories that I didn't get to make, and all the ones that I wasted being too angry at him to bother trying to make. And all I can think about is that fucking car ride home. All I can see is him smiling back at me in the mirror. And all I can think about is how, I'll never get to see that smile again. Those 15 years that I wasted might as well have been 15 seconds, because now that I look back at it, man, the shit happened in the blink of an eye. I know that not all fathers are loving and not all are deserving of forgiveness or redemption if they did fuck up. But I think mine was. And I was too blind, too immature, too fucking stupid, too angry to realize it before it was too late. I realize now that my father made a lot of mistakes, and don't get me wrong, he fucked up a lot. And he really didn't try his hardest with me. But the funny shit is, I don't care now. I don't care that he knowingly and willingly made bad decisions and fucked things up. The only thing I care about now is that he tried to fix it at the end. And I did come around to the idea of working with him to fix it, but I came around to it a little too late. Even on all his many imperfections, I loved him, and he loved me. And I didn't realize how badly I needed him growing up until now. Now, well into adulthood, that I'm able to do a little bit more soul searching and self-reflection on who I am, the person I've become, all that shit. I'm okay with admitting just how badly I think I needed his love, how badly I needed his guidance, how badly I needed more of those car rides home. I don't think there's really anything that can prepare you for losing a parent, especially if you had a turbulent relationship with them. Life, all life eventually ceases to exist. All life comes to an end. And you try to mentally prepare yourself for it. And if the person is really active in your life, or you have a topsy-turvy relationship with them, you think it might not affect you as much as maybe somebody that you love deeply. But I feel like when it's a parent, I don't know, maybe all bets are off. Don't get me wrong, I love my mother to death. My mother stepped up and did for me what he didn't do. And I know for a fact, the day I lose my mother is gonna be, it's gonna be. I don't even think I could put it into words. But I really didn't think losing my father would have the profound effect on me it's had. And it hasn't been, entirely negative. Like I said, it's made me a lot more emotional and shit like that. But it's also made me just a little bit more cognizant, a little bit more aware of my own emotions and looking at things through a different perspective and just different shit like that. And it's funny, when you're a kid, you don't think you're anything like your parents. And everybody tells you, you become your parents as you get older. You end up having similarities with them. And I, to a degree, I'm sure that's true. Because me and my mom are super similar in a lot of ways. And I'm also similar to my father in some aspects. But I do know one thing he left me with was like a love of jazz music. And I think I love jazz music because he loved it. I love the music itself, but I think the reason I feel such a deep connection to that genre of music is because it's like a way for me to vicariously connect with him through it. Like I said, man, I know not all fathers are good fathers. Not all fathers are worthy of redemption if they do wrong or forgiveness if they treat you badly. And I'm sure some people have wonderful fathers, and you know what? That's awesome. I hope if I ever have kids that I can, quite frankly, be the opposite my father was to me, to them. And that's not a stab at my father. He wasn't a bad father. He just wasn't much of a father. Losing a parent's fucked up, man. And especially, I think, when you didn't have the best relationship, you focus a lot on the fact that you didn't have the best relationship, and there's no going back and redoing it, and no way to fix it once they're gone. So if your fathers are around and they're a good father to you, just appreciate them. Same with your mother, obviously. Anybody in your life, grandparent, cousin, older sibling. Life is too short and people die way too quickly, man. So I don't know. I've been Yankee. Stay safe. Love y'all. Peace. I was debating on talking about this with this video because I felt like it might be a little bit inappropriate maybe, but the more I've thought about it, the more I feel like it's not. At the time that I post this video, I'll either have just hit or am literally a couple subs away from 25,000 subs. And, I'd like to think that maybe his passing played a part in me finally just kind of eventually saying fuck it and doing something I always wanted to do. I didn't do it immediately after he died. It still took 2 years, but maybe just realizing how quickly life comes to an end and realizing that, sometimes the things we think are going to last forever don't. Maybe that just kind of gave me some kind of subconscious push to just say fuck it and do it. But I'd also, I would like to think, one, that maybe he's proud of me for building something that I it's hard to say I've built it because literally every single person that listens to this that subbed is what built it, but being proud of me for having built something so quickly that I think is pretty fucking cool. 25,000 subs isn't a lot in the grand scheme of the YouTube atmosphere when there's people with fucking tens of millions of subs, sure. But for me, just a regular fucking guy, another face in the crowd, to have more people than I've probably spoken to in my entire life listening to me just talk about shit or whatever, I feel like it's meaningful, and he was a big part of that. The video I made about him got over 150,000 views, shit ton of comments, people sharing their experiences with their own father and just connecting with me, like, some deep shit. The internet's a lot of bullshit, and for it to have been one of the comment section on a YouTube video, which is notoriously always toxic, for that one to have been just so wholesome is, something I'm proud of, and I feel like he was a part of the growth I've experienced. So I don't know. You know, I feel like maybe this is the right video to put out for such a milestone because that's a quarter of 100K. You know, I guess at this point, I won't say it's impossible to get there, and I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know if it'll happen. You know, there's no guarantees, but still, man, it's 25,000 subscribers in 6 months. I think is fucking crazy. I feel like that's I don't know. I feel like that's special. Life's been getting a little bit better lately. You know, I was going through a rough patch for the last few months. I'm happy to say that things are looking a little bit nicer. You know, it's that time of the year, man. The weather's starting to get real nice. It's like 67 degrees every fucking day. It's beautiful, bro. Driving with the windows down is such a vibe that you forget how nice it is during the summertime. Because I'm not driving with the windows down in the summertime when it's 98 degrees outside and it's hot as shit. I ain't doing that. I got that AC cranked to 1,000,000. But bro, during the fall, dog, it is so fucking, it's just a vibe, dog. You just cruising, you got the windows cracked, fucking the leaves are changing color. Everything is just smooth and vibey and just nice, dog. It's just the weather and like how it feels outside can genuinely make an impact on like the quality of life. It's not something I really think about, and I don't think most people probably don't think about it that often. A lot of people say like, oh, I can never live in like a place like Seattle because it rains all the time, and some people find the rain depressing. I'm not one of them people. I low-key like the rain. Now, if it rains every fucking day, yeah, that's ass. But like, I like the rain a lot. It's calming for me. Like, a lot of people don't like overcast and like when it's real cloudy and shit. I like it. I feel like it's relaxing. It's chill. It's calming to me. I don't find it saddening. But some of y'all might know my mom had a surgery recently, like not super long ago, like maybe a couple of weeks ago, but it went well. She's already back to work, bro. Like, my mom is a fucking tank, dog. She is a fucking trooper. She had like a small knee surgery, and you know, she spent like 2 weeks recovering, 2 or 3 weeks recovering. But she's good, you know, it's not fully healed yet, but it's good enough that she can walk around and move on it and shit. Just, you know, she's doing good, and obviously her doing well is, you know, it makes me happy. And I wasn't like worried it wasn't gonna go well, but you know, just when it's happening, you're like, all right, I gotta help her out with shit. I gotta make sure that she's good more often. Like, just kind of, I did get a job recently. It's nothing crazy, you know, it's a job, right? You know, it ain't like I'm making buku bucks and nothing like that, but I got a job, so it's steady money coming in. It's only a part-time because this job market is still some hot, stinky fucking dog ass. It's hard to find that job, period, but it's a decent job in a decent place, and it's not terrible pay, so even though it's part-time, I'm not like making crazy bread off YouTube or nothing, but I'm making a couple dollars here and there, so I feel like that mixed with this part-time, mixed with whatever else I might do to supplement the income, I feel like, you know, kind of getting to the bread again. Like, I'm still kind of recovering from being out of work for a minute, but, you know, like, my money's not straight right now, but I think it will be soon, so I'm feeling a little better about that. And with that, I've honestly just been feeling better in general, like, health-wise, I guess. You know, I've still had a few issues here and there. A lot of y'all don't know, last year I got diagnosed as being diabetic, which I saw that shit coming. It runs in my family on both sides. My mom and my father, like, fucking rampant, bro. It's super bad. My moms don't have it, and she's like the only person in the family that ain't got it. Because it's not like I'm like 500 pounds and I eat like candy all day and nothing like that. It was gonna happen regardless. So, but with that, you know, I've had to make some lifestyle changes, and I'll admit I haven't like locked in on like taking care of myself the way I should in terms of like this shit anyway, but I have definitely made noticeable changes in my lifestyle, my eating habits, just the way I approach a lot of shit from like a year ago. So I'm slowly getting locked in with that, but I have been like hitting the gym a little bit lately and trying to eat a little healthier and shit like that. I'm taking baby steps, and I probably should be moving at a quicker pace, but fuck it, at least I'm moving, you know. But I have been feeling better physically, you know what I mean? Like, I've been feeling a little stronger since I've been pumping iron a little bit, you know what I mean? I've been, not to be TMI, sex drive been up, so I've been cracking cheeks a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, I've been feeling alright. With that, dating's been, I don't know, dating is fucking still ass, I ain't gonna lie. It's, I'm honestly, bro, I'm like taking my hands off the wheel, taking my foot off the pedal with dating, I'm just cruising. It's like, if I meet somebody and we lock in and we connect like that for real, cool. But if not, you know, it is what it is. I'm chilling, bro. Because at this point in my life, I need to lock in and focus on myself, get my head right, get my shit in order, get my ducks in a row, and, you know, then from there, I'll consider, you know, getting with somebody. You know, I don't want to carry somebody else's baggage when I'm fumbling my own shit, you know what I mean? So it's like, I need to find myself, get myself centered and squared away, and get myself zen before I can even consider taking on somebody else's shit. And the thing is, you know, dating in this generation now, bro, it's so ass. It's not as bad as the internet makes you think it is, because the internet makes it seem like every female is obsessed with a man of status, like you got to be rich and famous for me to fuck you or date you, and that they're all hoes, and none of them can cook anymore. Just all this other stupid shit. And again, times have changed, and a lot of women move different, and some of them are on some goofy shit for sure. But bro, you can meet good women. It's not hard. Like, just go out, talk to a woman, have a conversation. It's not that hard. I'm just not in a mental space right now where I'm heavily invested in it. But it's not as bad as people make it seem, but it is still pretty bad. It's hard to find. The biggest thing for me is we just live in the social media era, and it feels like since everybody's got TikTok brain, people's hearts have that same shortened attention span when it comes to connecting with somebody else. On both sides too. It's not just the women, it's men and women both. And for men, we're kind of, we use that excuse like, oh, it's in our nature, it's the thrill of the hunt. We will actively pursue a woman while we're courting her, just trying to get her to like us, and then once we get them, it's like, all right, I'm kind of good. It's a man thing. It's something I've dealt with before, not all the time, but it has happened. And it's just, I think we're in a generation where we live on the internet, we constantly compare every aspect of our lives to everybody else's, and we're so out of touch with our own lives and our own beings that we can't truly connect with somebody else. So until we can kind of remedy that issue as a whole, I'm not saying every single motherfucker, I'm not saying everybody age 16 to 35 is like that, but you'd be stupid to argue that the numbers aren't fluctuating towards it being the majority of people just being fucking addicted to their phones and just out of touch with what life is about, you know what I mean? So I'm chilling right now, you know what I mean? If I can find me a bad thick Latina or like a bad Asian John, or like, I ain't gonna lie, bro, I want to date a goth girl. I want like a fine ass, maybe a little thick. I don't mind a little skinny either, whatever. I want a goth girl. So hit my DMs if you a goth baddie and you fuck with the fits. Yo, I ain't gonna lie though, bro, video games kind of been fun lately. I've always liked gaming, and I'm not one of them motherfuckers who be on some like, oh, gaming is dead, like all that shit. Like, those are the same niggas who only play 2K, Madden, COD, and fucking Fortnite, and they talking about like, oh, video games suck, man. I was like, well, bro, you play the worst games out, so I've never been one of those. I play a shitload of single player games. I do play some multiplayer games. I do play. I don't play COD. COD is dog shit now, but like I do play 2K. I do play like Rocket League and like this shit that people are like is toxic or whatever. But like, I used to fuck with Apex back in the day and shit like that. But I mean, fuck, just from the videos, y'all know I play Skate. Nothing. I ain't gonna lie, the new shit's kind of ass. I'm not gonna get too deep into it. Don't expect a lot of Skate 4 vids. I don't even like playing the game. Skate 3 is just still way better and way more fun for me to play. But I play Skate shit. I'm heavy on like a single player game, bro. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Cyberpunk. I just started playing Outer Worlds 2, Far Cry 6. Like it's so much shit. Then there's so much shit I need to play. I need to play Ghost of Yotei. I want to play Arc Raiders. I want to play a million fucking things. Like, video games are fun for me because I keep a diversity in the games that I play. And I never play the same game. Like, I've never been one of those dudes who, like, I just play one game all the time. Like, I got a homie, Camden. That's my boy. That's my, that's my son right there. All that nigga plays is Apex Legends. And he's nice at it, bro. Bro was like a top 50 prat. He's nice. But that's all he fucking plays for, like, years now. That's all he plays. And I don't know if he's bored of video games, but if he is, the first thing I'm gonna say is, well, motherfucker, all you play is one game. Fuck you expect? So it's like all these dudes who say video games are shitty right now, but it's like all you play is fucking Rainbow Six Siege. All you play is Fortnite. All you play is this, that, and the other thing. It's like, bro, try to expand your horizons. Try playing some new shit. Go play some fucking Skyrim. Go play some Fallout. Go play some GTA. Go play some Red Dead. Go play some fucking Deep Rock Galactic. Go play some Helldivers 2. Go play something, bro. Play something different, you know what I mean? But I know this has been a big yap fest. I ain't write no script for this. This is a little different from most of the vids that I make, but it's still in the same vein, you know. Life gets better. I've been trying to be more optimistic lately. Life can suck some big fat dick sometimes, bro. But you gotta push through the shit to get to the other side. I made a video recently, the light at the end of the tunnel. Bro, it don't matter how bad shit is. Sometimes that tunnel is longer than a motherfucker. Sometimes you gotta just keep trucking through, keep pushing through it. It might seem like it goes on forever. But you know, eventually you're gonna get a little glimpse of the light at the end of it. You're gonna have a little bit of light creep through. And that's gonna be the moment where you feel a little bit of alleviating. I don't know what the fucking word is. My brain's too fried right now. That's gonna be the moment where you kind of realize, like, oh, all right, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know, there's hope. So just try to be as optimistic as you can. Take it from a motherfucker that lived a long time, always being a glass half empty kind of guy, bro. Going on the other side and trying to be a glass half full, I don't succeed every time, but trying, it makes life a little bit easier. I know, you know, I've been struggling for the last 3 or 4 months. Shit's been hard, but I know that there's better times ahead. I'm gonna get back on my feet. I'm gonna get back up on that horse. I'm gonna lock in. Shit's gonna get better. I'm gonna get my bread right. I'm gonna get my body right. I'm gonna start feeling healthier again. I'm gonna find me a bad little thick emo Latina shorty. You know, all that shit. Like, it gets better. It's getting better. I hope y'all are doing alright, man. At the time of this vid, I think I got like 19,500 subs. I try not to keep talking about like subscriber count and shit like that anymore, just because one, it's kind of rapidly growing, and two, I don't want to like talk about it to the point that it loses its meaning. But I'm probably gonna hit 20K. I'm hoping I can hit 25K before the end of the year, but I feel like that's still a big amount. But bro, it don't matter. The fact that I'm almost at 20K now, dog, and I started doing this shit back in like July or some shit, bro, it's kind of unfathomable for me. Just being a random motherfucker that was just chilling, cranked out a couple videos, all of a sudden it started getting traction, and now people listen to me, people like hearing what I got to say. Like, it's so fucking crazy, man. But you know, I don't take for granted how lucky and like how loving this shit feels to me, man. Because my content's a little different. I'm giving y'all me. I'm not talking about daily topics. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about a specific video game or niche. I'm just talking about my life and the shit that I got going on, and it resonates with y'all. Like, it's different, you know what I mean? This shit, you know, I'm just giving y'all me. I'm talking about my life, what the fuck I got going on, my insecurities, my past, my present, my future. It's about me. And the fact that, you know, some of y'all really connect and click with this shit, bro, like, I don't know, it's different. It's more personal, and it's weird because I'm not used to sharing myself with anybody, and now I'm sharing myself with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It's weird, but it feels great, man. So I just wanted to say I appreciate y'all, love y'all again, and yeah, bro, it's been Yankee. Keep yanking it. Don't forget to join the Discord if y'all want to come chop it up with me. Link in the description. Peace. So the other night I went on a date with this girl that I've kind of been seeing off and on for a while. We've known each other for like a couple years. I don't know, it's kind of a weird relationship, but that's not really the point. But she wants to go bowling. We go and like, bro, we're locked in. We're having a great time. We got food, music's playing. We chilling, just talking about random shit in between the frames. She's terrible at bowling, so I'm like pretending to teach her how to bowl, you know. And at one point we were sitting there and we were having a conversation, and we kind of looked around and we noticed that everybody around us was on their phones. And I mean everybody. Like there was other couples there on a date or whatever, families there, groups of friends, and like at every table or like little booth thing that we looked at, right? Everybody's on their phones. Like everybody's just fucking scrolling or watching TikToks or texting, and hardly anybody's talking to each other. And it just like really hit in that moment that like nobody lives in the moment anymore, man. Like internet's just ruining our generation. Just everyone's addicted to their phones. And it's just, you know, the internet has arguably been like humans' most single innovative invention probably ever. And plenty of good has come from the internet for sure. You know, like obviously information is more accessible now than it ever has been at any point in time ever. You know, and not just like in terms of like furthering your education or knowledge about stuff, because yeah, like I learned the few things I know how to work on my car, I learned from YouTube. You know, most of the time if I don't know how to do something like around the house that needs to get fixed, fucking look it up on Google, watch a YouTube video, you know how to do it. Like that is amazing. And not only that, but you know, the fact that like the shit that's going on right now, there's wars going on all over the place. Politics is a fucking mess in the US and probably everywhere else. The shit with ICE raids, like it's just so much stuff going on, right? That if we didn't have the internet and we didn't have like quote unquote boots on the ground footage direct from the people who are seeing the shit happen, then you know it's back to like 20 or 30 years ago where all your information is gotten from, you know, the news or like radio or newspapers, which all of that, you know, those are all conglomerates and companies. They all have biases and allegiances to certain, you know, sides or whatever that might misconstrue the information. You know, we live in the age of information. You know, God knows what kind of spin they would be putting on everything going on right now if we didn't have this shit where we just, you know, from the horse's mouth that we get the information. People who, you know, form brands and grow businesses through the internet, or, you know, making careers from it, or that alone, God knows how many people have used the internet to literally, you know, jumpstart a career or make a living for themselves that they never would have been able to do otherwise. And finding like support groups and shit like that for people maybe with disabilities, people who suffer from PTSD or some kind of traumatic event, who don't have like people in their town that they can talk to. Or, you know, it's hard to find people who live near you who have gone through something similar. But man, has there been a lot of bad. When you really break it down, let's start with like the most obvious shit, right? People who are chronically online, addicted to just being on the internet, being online, social media addiction. That shit alone is arguably probably the most rampant part of the internet aside from porn. Everybody's constantly on social media, addicted to it. Whether you think TikTok and YouTube, like video sharing stuff is social media, I don't really think of it as social media, but there was literally just like a lawsuit constituting it as social media, so whatever. But you know, that shit, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Truth Social, whatever, all these other fucking threads, fucking Snapchat, all this shit. Bro, people are constantly on this thing to the point where like the lack of a social life that people have, they replace with this like facade or this faux social life online. And it's negatively impacting everybody's mental health. Because the internet, especially social media, it's all bullshit, man. It's 90% of the stuff you see is a lie, or at the very least, it's fluff. You know, it's people showing you one specific thing that they want you to see. And it just causes people to have unrealistic expectations. And I know because this is something I've suffered from. It's something that I've done, and it's something that I've kind of started learning as I've gotten a little bit older, is, you know, an extreme negative, and it's bullshit. But how many people... There's so many different aspects I can pull from. You know, whether or not you're doing well financially because you're comparing yourself to some 22-year-old fucking multimillionaire on the internet. You see them buying houses and buying cars that you could only dream of, and buying a house for their mom, and you know, traveling to fucking like Turks and Caicos, or going to like Abu Dhabi and all this other just extravagant wild shit, the kind of shit that you see like in the movies and shit like that. And then you're sitting here and you live in bumfuck Ohio or something like that, and you feel trapped and you feel like your life's just not going anywhere. And you look at this and you feel bad about yourself. Or, you know, like your looks, you see these models, these internet models, who half of them have either gotten work done on their bodies, fucking BBLs, boob jobs, fucking facelifts, all kinds of shit. Or, you know, if they are natural, probably have some expensive ass trainer. They spend hours and hours in the gym because they don't have to work a 9 to 5 like you do. Same thing for men. It's not women exclusive. You know, you might see some fucking yoke jack dude who might be on gear. And this is just tanking people's mental health because, like I said, it's done the same thing to me. You know, there's been so many times in my life where I'm just not where I feel like I should be at. And then you go online and, like I said, I'm like, let's say I was like 25 years old and I'm looking at some dude who's 21 who's made 15 mil already and is fucking just living this life of luxury. And you see it online and it makes you feel like your life is shit, your life is worthless. Like, I haven't done anything. This dude is living it up and I'm living it down. Like, but what you fail to realize is that social media is a highlight reel. You don't see behind the scenes of this shit. You know, they're showing you what they want you to perceive. They're not showing you what their real life is like. They're not showing you the possible loneliness that they feel, the stress that they might be under, the fucking debt that they might be in, because that's a big one. A lot of these people who live these lavish lifestyles, you don't realize because they don't let it be known. These motherfuckers are 300K in debt. You know, it's so much shit. And then with social media, especially with fucking Twitter and IG, bro, I don't know if YouTube is gonna let me say it. Porn addiction, prawn. I'm gonna be safe, right? We'll say corn. I know it's corny. Corny. That's kind of funny. I know it's corny to say corn addiction because it's like a fucking internet thing. Just to be on the safe side, corn addiction is everybody's just gooned out of their fucking minds because corn is so easily accessible, man. You can find it on social media. You can find this shit on TikTok, dog, and there's kids on there. Literally, you just be scrolling sometime and it's some bot account that like starts a video off like it's a meme and then all of a sudden there's a pair of tits in your face. Corn is so easily accessible for everybody, bro. And the shit is, you know, how many of us grew up going through, you know, even when I'm a little older than a lot of y'all. When I was like 11 or 12, corn was easy to find online. Now it's like literally, it's littered all over the internet. You go on Twitter, you can't scroll for more than 3 or 4 minutes without seeing some OF model or something, you know, just being shared, whether you want to see it or not. And like that shit just does irreparable damage to these, man, because like, you know, you're seeing this stuff, you get curious, you start looking at more and more of it. Motherfuckers start goon maxing. The shit is one, you're desensitizing yourself. And when you watch this stuff, you give yourself like a false expectation of what intimacy is supposed to be. I'm not gonna go like super deep into it because I just made a video talking about a lot of this shit, but like the internet has desensitized us to what being intimate and what making love and sex and all this other stuff is really supposed to be. And the corn addiction, like, bro, I know people, I've gotten emails and like DMs and stuff from people asking like, how do you fix that? And I'm like, gang, I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I don't watch anything or like there hasn't been certain times in my life where I probably watched more than I should have, but I don't know how to fix that, bro. That's like shit you gotta get your mental check for that. Like, you need to go see a professional because you're addicted. I don't know if you're addicted to the intimacy or to the lust or what, but like it's a mess in its own. And it's like, dog, even, bro, I know people who are like early 20s, maybe 19, who are fucking gambling addicts now because of the DraftKings and the I don't know a bunch of them because I don't gamble. But like that's the one I see all the time. But like all that online gambling that's everywhere, bro. And the shit, it doesn't even have to be like the DraftKings shit. It doesn't even have to be actual gambling. You can just get addicted to the games like blackjack, poker, whatever, because you can play them free online. And it just goes down. And it's, you know what's crazy, bro? Is like when we were kids and like back in the day or whatever, the people who are like gambling addicts were like the dudes who went down to like the fucking dog track or the horse track or some shit like that. It was always like these frumpy 53-year-old fucking fat alcoholics who that was the highlight of their week, was going to the fucking dog track and betting their paycheck and then fucking losing. Or, you know, it was like guys who were just always betting money on like sports games, you know, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever the fuck they could think. Like that was the thing back then. Now, bro, it's like dudes in college, like future lawyers and doctors and fucking engineers and all that are like getting wasted on the weekends, popping mollies, doing all kinds of wild shit, whatever, goon maxing at 4 a.m. and then fucking go jump on their computer to play blackjack for $3,000 and then loot. Like it's fucking And since this whole kind of thing sparked from me talking about a date, dating has become fucking atrocious. And a lot of that has been social media and the internet just and I'm saying this with respect. I'm not the most beautiful, handsome man in the world. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm ugly, but to each their own. Some motherfuckers might think I'm ugly. Some might think I'm cute. Whatever. I don't really care. But I say this with respect. The amount of absolute mid-tier, I won't say bottom of the barrel, but just the most average women ever, who, because of the internet and because of these fucking simps and gooners, have just given them the most false, inflated ego possible. It has been so detrimental for dating and building relationships, man. And it's not just women. We live in a society where, oh god, that's a meme, isn't it? we live in a society where, obviously the power dynamic in dating is almost entirely skewed towards women. Women might not agree with that, but men who actively pursue women will 99% of the time agree with what I just said. And you hold the power. Ultimately, your decision is the only one that matters. It's entirely in women's hands. Men are at the whim of women. I say this with respect. I'm really not trying to be a dick here, but if you can't at least agree a little bit that there's 4 out of 10s acting like they're genuinely 10 out of 10s, fuck you. You're lying to yourself. Because the amount of women that I've met who have like this crazy ego is like, you think I'm trying to talk to Kylie or Sabrina Carpenter or some shit like that. And then, all right, let's say all that ego shit aside, like looks wise, bro, like some of y'all might have seen, it was like a viral video like last year of some dude who took a young lady to Cheesecake Factory for like a lunch or dinner, right? Average place. It good food. It's not like McDonald's or anything. You might not be taking her to Nobu or some shit like that, but there's nothing wrong with Cheesecake Factory. And this chick just made a video just absolutely frying this dude because he didn't spend $900 on their meal. The internet has just kind of allowed people to find these echo chambers. How many people have you met when it comes to the unfortunate conversation of politics, where they just go to www.imcorrect.com and they just read a stat sheet full of statistics that agrees with everything that they say. They memorize the shit, and then anytime the argument comes up, they just regurgitate everything that they read. And the shit is, bro, it could be politics, fucking religious beliefs, just everything, man. And it's just caused people to kind of like lose the ability to look at things through another perspective. God forbid people keep an open mind or try to see something through somebody else's point of view, walk in somebody else's shoes. Fuck that. Why would I do that? I'm right, you're wrong, and if you disagree, you're a piece of shit. And it's just, people have always been like that, I'm sure, but like I said, the internet letting these people find these echo chambers, whether it's some fucking niche weird website or God forbid you go on Reddit or like some chat room or whatever the fuck weird shit people do, go on some Facebook group, whatever the fuck. And it's just a bunch of people who all think the exact same way, and they all think anybody who thinks differently is out to get them. And then that's how we end up in the situation that we're in now. You disagree with what I have to say, so you hate me as a person. You're attacking my beliefs. You're attacking me. You are the enemy. You should fucking die. And because of that, the anonymity of the internet, especially places like Twitter, Reddit, whatever, has just allowed for people to get on these websites and just spew just pure toxic fucking garbage. I mentioned you can't scroll on Twitter for more than 3 minutes without seeing some naked people, which is true. You also can't scroll for more than 3 minutes without seeing some fucking racial bullshit. Twitter has turned into like a very fucking racist cesspool. I see that shit all the time. Political stuff, religious stuff. I see a lot of like people who are like anti-Muslim and shit like that. It's a lot of bad shit going on, man. And I just really, really fucking hope people can find some kind of balance between living online and living offline. I grew up in the in-between period. As much as y'all like to call me unk and say, goddamn, you old and shit, I'm gonna keep it a bean. I feel like I grew up in a much better era than